Yo, what is up guys? It's Rifftic, and in this video I'm going to be telling you guys what the best settings are for Tower of Fantasy. Both PvE and PvP. I'm going to be going down the list of the settings in this game and basically just showing you guys what the best options are. PvE and PvP are pretty simple pretty similar for the most part, so you don't have to worry too much about it, but I'll make sure to point out the ones that are specifically for PvP because some of those are very important. So without further ado, let's get started. So starting up at the top, we have just the basic settings, volume, you know, your standard stuff here. We're gonna want to turn hit frame on, make sure that's on. Camera vibration, I turn it off because it's just distracting. Discharge skill animation. This is really bad for PvP. You're going to want to turn this off. For PvE, it's personal preference. I actually like it in PvE just because, I don't know, it's cool. You get to see your character's animation whenever you do the discharge. But for PvP, it's very bad. It's distracting. It completely throws you off your perspective. So turn that off for PvP. Hidden weapon, like you can leave all this on. This is mostly just personal preference stuff. Show blue dot prompts, that's just helpful for like the overworld, open world stuff. I choose to show FPS. Auto climb, I turn that off. I think it's on by default. I think it's kind of annoying, like when you're just running over stuff and if you run into a wall or something, you automatically start climbing it. It's kind of annoying. If you turn it off, you can still climb walls just like normal. It's just you jump at the base of the mountain instead of just running into it, which I always do anyway, so I turn that off. Manual sprint, this I would highly actually recommend you turning off. I think it's also on by default, or you get to choose at the very beginning. I would turn this off because in some cases in PvP, there are cases where you don't want to waste one of your dodges. Your dodges are very important in PvP. You need to use them very sparingly. So sometimes you just want to sprint away and not waste a dodge. So I would turn off manual sprints. That way you don't have to waste a dodge every time you want to sprint. Display, this is kind of situational. It depends on your setup. Like for me, I have a pretty decent computer, so I like to have a nice game to look at, so I put everything on extreme. If I'm dropping frames for some reason, I could turn down the graphics settings, and that's what I would recommend if you're not reaching your whatever your monitor's frame rate is, basically. So I would just make sure you have a good frame rate, and you should be fine. Basically just adjust that as necessary. Anti-aliasing, or aliasing, I couldn't really tell the difference between different ones. I just put it on 4. Maybe if you can tell the difference, like choose one or over the other, but for the most part I couldn't tell the difference. Camera settings, this one's important, very important for PvP. The top is also personal preference, sensitivity, it is whatever. Camera distance in combat, you're going to want to make sure this is maximum. Just to give you the most zoomed out view, you can see the most things going on during a boss fight, or especially in PvP. And a setting that goes with this is the auto correct camera distance. Now you actually want to turn this on because it sounds like something like you don't want it automatically zooming in or out, but the reality is when you are in combat, it can actually zoom you out even further than the basically minimum. I'm pretty sure there's a monster here. Yeah. So here we go. As you can see, it zooms me out even further. When you turn this off, look, I'll show you guys right now. If you turn it off, it's actually a lot more zoomed in than the maximum. And this is important in PvP because, especially in PvP, because you definitely want to see as much as possible on the map. You'll be able to see the entire map because of that extra zoomed out. So make sure you have that autocorrect camera distance turned on. Also with this, I would turn this smart lock on for locking method. This checkbox right here. This just makes it so that you can tab through. It's a little bit misleading because you would think manual means you can tab through the different targets to choose your target to attack for like long range attacks, but it's actually the smart one that allows you to do this. So turn that on, and then default just allows that to be all correct. And moving on, the top, just friend requests, personal preference. Non-teammate wanderer, like I like to see people's HP, so I turn that on. I like to see everybody's names as well, so I turn all of these checkboxes on. It's up to you for these, it's not super important. Special effects settings, you want to have obviously you want to see your own skills. I don't know why you would want to be shooting nothing in a game where it's all about shooting. It makes no sense. But so yeah, I have that at 100%. Friendly wanderers, I like to see other people and their abilities when they're going off in the open world. So I put this on 70%. I don't want it like in my face, but I still like to see it a little bit. Enemy wanderers skill opacity. By default, I'm pretty sure this is only 10%. So that is really bad in PvP. You will barely be able to see what they're casting or what they're doing or anything. I put it on 90. Honestly, I might even put it on 100 because like you need to see everything in PvP. There's no, I mean, that's just how it is. Like otherwise you're going to be running into their slows. You're going to be running into their relics. It's just going to be horrible. You definitely want to put this on 100% or at least like 90%. Simulacra voice, default scroll text settings, that's whatever. It's kind of also personal preference. Here we go. Keybinds. This is a big one because I haven't seen anybody talk about this yet, but I think it is actually extremely important for PvP. For PvE, you can kind of get away with doing whatever, like the default settings are kind of fine. But if you see here, what I have changed is I have switched the weapon numbers with the, I think what's default. Oh yeah, I switched the weapon numbers and the relic and skill keybinds. So, and the reason for this is one, I mean, it's kind of easier to press in PvP. I'm going to be talking specifically PvP for this keybinds section because PvE, it doesn't really matter. You can kind of press whatever, and as long as your skills go off, like, I mean, you're fine. PvP, it's a little bit more nuanced because, I mean, it's meta, it's competitive. You want to have the most advantage over your team, over your opponent as possible. So I would recommend switching, especially your weapon. Weapon 1, you want your E key to be weapon skill. And I'll go into that in a second. So I have my relics, Q and R. I have my weapon skill, E. And then my weapons 1 through 3 are just numbers 1, 2, and 3. And the rest is all defaults. And so now I'm going to go in specific detail as to why you want weapon skills to be bound to E. And the reason for this is by default, it's 1. This is very inefficient for tab spamming. If you guys don't know already, in PvP, when you spam the tab key over and over again, the tab key is target enemy, whatever enemy is around you, and it allows you to cycle through enemies. But in PvP, when there's only one other opponent, it's one-on-one, when you spam it, it basically locks onto them. So whenever you're casting ability, like for example, Nemesis E, or Nemesis ability, and you're spamming tab while you press it, it will lock onto them and allow you to hit them from a way farther distance, like nearly twice the distance as it would if you didn't spam tab. So you want to always spam tab whenever you're hitting any ranged attack, even like Nemesis back, dodge, attack, her skill, even Coco autos. Like if you're spamming tab, it will reach farther, it will hit them from even longer range. So this is really important. And the reason why you want to bind E to the skill, or bind the skill to E, is because when you're spamming tab, it's a lot harder to spam tab and hit 1 than it is to spam tab and hit E. I mean, just like, I mean, look at your keyboard, like that's just how it's laid out. So I would highly recommend doing that. Aside from that, it's just generally better Q and R for your relics. You want to press them faster. Obviously, if your fingers don't have to travel as far to press your relic, that's just better. It's more more competitive. So I highly, oh god, that guy's on me. Let's just run away from that. So I'd highly recommend switching your keybinds to these right here. So moving forward, controller, if you're playing on controller, I don't know what the fuck to tell you. Anyway, yeah, and that's it, except for one thing. This is the final tip I have for you guys. This is actually the most important piece of guide information that I can give you today, and that is change your language settings voiceover to Japanese. This is the most meta. It's just meta. It will help you win games. It will increase your win rate. It is what it is. But jokes aside, it's actually pretty cool. I didn't know this. The voice actress for Huma is the same voice actress as Amelia in ReZero and Megumin from Konosuba. Both very solid animes. And yeah, sorry to go full weeb shit on you there, but anyways, thank you guys for watching the video. If it helped you, leave a comment and remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.